Welcome to the Last in Line podcast, where we discuss faith, hope, and truth in the lives of amazing servant leaders. You are in the right place if you crave purpose and if you hunger for a life of significance. This podcast applies biblical truth to our daily lives, and we pray that you walk away encouraged and inspired. This is the Last in Line podcast.
Gentlemen, this is a cool episode. I want to welcome Kurt Avery to Last in Line podcast. He is the founder of a company called Sawyer Products. And if you've done anything in the hiking world, the outdoor world here, you know about their filtration system that you can pretty much get water from anywhere and run it through their filter and drink it immediately, and it removes parasites, bacteria, all the things that can hurt us. But since 1984, they developed that technology, and since then, they've offered the most technologically advanced solution for the protection against contaminated water, but also sun, bugs, and injuries, because they're in the insect repellent game, they're in the sunscreen game, they're in the first aid kit game. But we talked a lot about some of their presence throughout the world with their filtration systems, and millions of people, lives changed in other countries who don't have clean water, and just the life expectancy of children in other countries, and specifically Africa. They don't name their children until they're 3 years old, because at that point they're somewhat out of the woods from dying of a parasite or dying from malnourishment. His products, the Sawyer system, actually has saved countless lives, and now those countries are naming their children at birth because they have access to this filtration system. And so this is a cool episode. I'm really grateful to Baker Publishing for introducing me to Kurt Avery. He's the founder. He's partnered with NFL stars like Gale Sayers back in the 80s. And really became partners in the company. And then he bought Gale out, and over the years they created the insect repellents, and now they've created there's a new chemical that they have come out with that replaces DEET. So the other cool thing is he wrote a book called Sawyer Think, and it's got 25 of his best business practices: the sales model, the service model, how to scale, how to do cost analytics, how to create teams where group sourced wisdom creates different scenarios to account for the unexpected, and what he calls unintended consequences, which he says there's no such thing if you're doing it right. So it was a great conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it. I had no idea his name was who invented Sawyer Products, and he goes into why they named it that, and I won't spoil it for you, but we talk about three of the main pillars of some of these 25 business practices and models that he came up with. So I think you'll be interested. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're thinking of starting a business, even if you're in corporate America, there are some strategic ways of thinking, and he's got an advanced degree from Northwestern University, so he's not just some guy off the street that had a great idea. He's very analytical, he's very business minded, he's a visionary, and so this is going to be valuable. I mean, he's a man of faith, and so there's a lot of nuggets here, a lot of gold here, a lot of things we can benefit from. So help me welcome Mr. Kurt Avery to Last in Line podcast. Kurt Avery, we are honored to have you, sir. Welcome to Last in Line podcast.
Well, thank you. Grateful to be here.
So where are you located?
We're in the free state of Florida.
Okay, you're in Florida, I'm in Texas, so we both are free, and that's good. The great nation of Texas, as some people call it. I want to go into, so you're the founder of the Sawyer Products. You wrote a book. you have impacted the world with clean water and vessels and devices and tools to help other people enjoy the outdoors. So I guess take me back when kind of early in your life where, some of the home life, the childhood, your faith journey, kind of take me through some of you early in life, teens and early 20s.
Well, the Lord got a hold of me really, really early. So I've never really been outside the fold. I mean, the story we tell is I was 5 years old. I was just crying on Christmas Eve. Why are we giving us those presents? I mean, what are we doing that for? It's not about us,
Mm.
about the birth of the child. So I've been in the fold. I did my research, checked all the other religions. I think it's only appropriate that you need to understand what you stand for and why, but they just didn't measure up. When you look at creation, there can't be anything but our God. So the rest of them just don't even come close. So that's where I've been. So I've been up there in the church. Went to a Christian college, Hope College in Michigan, and been in the fold ever since. So only made sense
Yeah.
to follow the path. He's been really, really blessed me along the way. So he has. It's not me, but he has big plans for the things we're doing.
Yeah, I can tell. He's done a lot and is continuing to do so, and that's nice to know that he's co-signing what you're doing because that gives you an idea you might be on the right path. Um, how did you start this company? And maybe since I'm going to do it a disservice or an injustice by not going fully into everything, can you give us an idea maybe how you started? Were you just inspired because you were an outdoorsman and you thought, man, someone's got to do something about this? Like, how'd this start?
No, my idea of remote camping is a Holiday Inn. So no, I'm not there. I'm a marketing person. I had a pretty storied career. I was able to get my MBA out of Northwestern University in marketing, and that's the marketing MBA program.
Mhm.
Got some good jobs, worked for some very big names at some very big companies, special projects, always a fire shooter going into companies, fixing them, deciding what to do, and that kind of a thing. And along the way, I've worked at some pretty prestigious places. I was in General Electric. I went to Weed Eater. I was in Poland Chainsaws. I was in Skill Power Tools. I was kind of full of myself. This is so easy. I should just go start one of my own. So I did, and that was Sawyer, which did quite well in the beginning. Our original product is still in all the stores right now. So we had the right idea, but I forgot one thing about guerrilla marketing. So I was still marketing like I was at the big companies and kind of blew through all the money we raised. And I always like to say we lost money 23 of the first 25 years till we became an overnight success. So, we're kind of the king of the insect repellents. The big names Offcut or Repel, we're the next in line, but we're the techie brand. We're what the military uses. We treat your clothes, we treat your skin. We have the new technology out, which is picaridin, which replaces the DEET. So we've always been state of the art. Every product we have is the single best product on the market for its application. And the big thing, well, then we got into the water filters and we searched and searched and searched and found the right technology, hollow fiber membranes. And it was interesting. The market at the time for hikers and campers treating water in the outdoors they'd had maybe 70,000 units a year of ceramic filters, paper matrix, or they'd use chemicals. And we got in there. This is the disruptor part. We came across the hollow fiber membrane technology, which is from kidney dialysis. So if you can clean blood, you can clean water. And so
Mm.
we introduced that to the industry, and the market price was $80, $90. We said, no, we're going to go for 19.95. And they said, no way. We're going to, why should we sell yours and make $10 when the retailers and we could sell the others and make 40 or 50? And I said, well, because you're going to sell a lot more of them. And so pretty soon we turned that 70,000 unit market into a million unit market. So they're
Mm.
collecting a whole lot more $10 bills. But it was the right
Mhm.
technology. And so far, 20 years later, we still have the single best filter, which is why we can do what we do overseas. You cannot get sick drinking water through our filter biologically. Just not going to happen. We're going to stop it all. Nobody else can make that claim. So then, we got a lot. So here we are. We invented the permethrin that goes on the bed nets and all that stuff overseas and all that. We don't really in that market now, but we did the technology, and so we're solving half the world dies of mosquito bites or bad water. And I'm sitting there saying, come on, God, we got to do this. Why don't we
Wow.
just go do that? And with, of course, we meaning him, but we had the right technology. So we went out, and what really put us on the map was the earthquake in Haiti. Was that 19? Oh, it was about 2000, I think it was, where 100,000. We put a couple 100,000 filters down there, and pretty soon everybody was drinking out of Sawyer filters. All the NGOs figured out this is the right one. Ironically, they even did the president of Haiti did a little seminar where he got to meet everybody doing everything, and they found out that even our competitors, all the other 19 solutions were using for themselves our filter. So they figured
Wow.
out that this was the right one. So that put us on the map. And so now we're with 140 charities use our filters now, the big ones, Samaritan's Purse keeps a couple plane loads for every disaster, World Vision, a lot of the minor ones that you wouldn't know, but they're really big in the water space. Um,
Hmm.
and then we're in 80 countries. I mean, we're where you wouldn't believe we could go. We're pretty big in North Korea and Yemen and,
Yeah.
Iran, Iraq. Everybody needs water. So
Hmm.
we're out there. And
Yeah, and Haiti's not a walk in the park anymore, really. Not that it ever was, but it's rough now. My son is actually leaving this weekend to go to on a mission trip to Thailand. He works with Mission Catalyst International, and they this will be his second trip. He's just getting involved with them. So I didn't know if you were in Thailand as well.
we're
Also,
everywhere, so somebody's
yeah,
bringing it in.
that's
So,
right. That's right.
yeah.
Well, so let me go back for a second. I was looking at this timeline, which is pretty interesting on your website. But um, Gail Sayers, how did you get connected with him back in the 80s?
Um, it was interesting. Gail was the NFL wanted Gail to be the first black part owner, and so the at the time they were going to add two franchises, and the majority group was going to be one of them that involved him, and they ended up doing the St. Louis Rams, but he wasn't part of that. But he was destined to do it. But the problem was you had the Al Davis lawsuits. And so the NFL said, I don't know what the definition of an NFL franchise is. So we're going to put all this on hold till the lawsuits are settled. And so in the meantime, the group that was going to use Gale as a part owner didn't know what to do with him. So they put him at Skill Power Tools because they owned Emerson Electric, and Skill was a division of that. And there I was. I was
Mm,
the marketing person at Skill. And so he was assigned to me. So we got to be pretty close. And then we just said, let's just chuck this and start our own company. So we did. And he passed away a couple of years ago.
hmm.
I of course bought him out and everything, but yeah, he was quite a character, quite an interesting person. So we that's how we started with
Yeah.
him.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm a big sports fan, and a lot of sports fans listen to this show, and of course, everybody knows the name Gale Sayers. I would think who knows anything about football. So that's a cool name to drop on your website. And then, so your products have evolved obviously over the years and the technology, but core has stayed the same, right? I would imagine the core thing that you started with, but because I'm looking at you have the extractor pump kit, and then I see some evolution for the products, but everything's pretty much stayed the same as far as the guts.
Yeah, well, we're focusing on the outdoor campers and hikers. So, again, part of the book will explain that to you. Your best way to find growth is sell more things to the same people. So, we'd go out and explain all these products. I'd sit in the stores for 12 hours at an REI. What do you need? What do you need? And I always tell our people, the second you sit across from a buyer, ask them, is there anything we could do for you? And from time to time, yeah, they tell you what the needs are. Walmart constantly will ask us, can you make this for me or can you make this for us? And so we do it. So you feed off of that. So we're in the outdoor space.
Mhm.
Obviously, we're very techy in the insect repellents and the water filtration. Now we've moved into this water for the people around the world, and we do 2 to 5 million people a year. It's a very
Mm.
simple filter. I don't know if you want to look at what they are, but they're very small and they
Hmm.
never wear out. This one here can do 500 gallons a day for 10 years, and it's less than $20.
Wow.
So, we're now to the point where for 10 cents, we can give somebody clean water for 10 years, just one time 10-cent investment. So
Mm.
that on our plate, that's got to be where our focus is.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I
good.
don't know what we're at, 25, 30 million people have already been switched over to it. It's life changing. I mean, just
Yeah,
imagine never being sick again. We go into a village within 2 weeks, they're starting to close the medical clinic because there's no customers, stuff like that. And
yeah,
hundreds of thousands of babies live every year because they're very susceptible till age 3
yeah,
of diarrhea. And so it's over. And we save them 20% of their annual income. We quit boiling, so we're not chewing up trees. We're not using fossil fuels. Just the impact, and it's like the next day. I mean, the impact
yeah,
is so quick. So how do you not make that your primary goal? So we still have a very healthy retail business in the camping world, but we really shifted our focus to changing
yeah.
the
That's
dynamic
good.
around the world.
So you wrote a book called Sawyer Think. Now I'm gonna get into it, and I have a lot of questions about it. So we're going to talk a lot about business too, because
Yeah.
you have a unique, good, effective business philosophy, and I think it's definitely unique, and I want you to talk about it. Now. Some of the concepts may be, have not been unique. Some are general, but your spin on it is really interesting. So why this book? And then who is it for? Is it for the entrepreneur? Is it for the just regular average guy like me that's in corporate America?
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know if you need to see a picture of it or not,
yeah,
but
yeah,
um, I internally teach a class to my workers and interns, what I call Grasshopper U. You have much to learn, Grasshopper,
yeah.
So over the years, I've developed this. I'm not too bad in the business in terms of marketing. I'm pretty good, uh, praise the Lord. But so what this is 25 analytic concepts. Now, I start out with the first five that are really basic. You're going to get them in any MBA, life cycle curves, bell curves, that kind of
Hmm.
stuff. But the other 20 educational system. Some of them are out there, but not high profile, and I've adapted them. Some of them I've just made up. So I've got 25 ways to look at your business that I always give the example of the Sriracha, the poor guy that started the Sriracha. If he had just read the book, he made 5 critical mistakes, which killed his business. And every one of them is said, don't do it in the book. Don't do this. Don't do that. He did every one of them completely wrong. So there are ways to make your business better. And then the other part of the book is, okay, so now you've made a healthier, more profitable business. What are you going to do with it? I mean, you can't take it with us. No U-Hauls in heaven. The only thing you take to heaven is other believers that let the Holy Spirit bring along the way. So how can you give away? Now, we're fine. We live modestly, don't really want to live any different because, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and they're his,
Mm.
not mine. So, um, we give away, we always say 90% of the profits, but it's a whole lot more than that because as a sub S company, which I own 100%, I try not to make profits. I
Mm.
burn I burn this money off in cost of goods sold, promotions, research. So I don't let it become a profit because I would rather give it away than have to make profits. We always say if I was a cupcake company, I would have to sell the cupcakes, make the profit, pay the taxes, and then give away what's left. I don't have to do that. I have the very product that they need. So we give away hundreds of thousands of filters every year to the remote areas, and other people take them out and install them. So I don't have to make a profit. So I
Hmm.
can magnify what would have been the profits in Sawyer. And I walk you through how to do that, the mechanism to do that. I mean, why let the government decide how to distribute the wealth that you've created then?
Hmm.
do it yourself, put it where we think we can use it. And frankly, our filters, I mean, one filter, can change, 4 or 5 families for
Hmm.
life. So, or would I rather have the government put it into some social program or whatever? So that's in
Hmm.
the book too. How to do that, how to be much more generous because you've made your business more profitable. You're a plumber, you can do free plumbing. You're a restaurant, you can do giveaway food. You can gather up other restaurants, do food banks. I mean, there's always a way that you can use your abilities or your products to glorify the kingdom without having to pay taxes. And
Right.
so the goal is to make you get more wealth, more potential profits, but then way to give them away.
It's interesting. I had a guy on a few months ago who has done that in the foundation and trust world. So he's a financial minded guy, financial planner, and he talks about the more money you give away, right? You don't own anything, you manage things.
Right.
Is his definition. He goes way more into it, but so this book could be for anybody that owns a business. And why now though? I mean, you've had all this information in your brain for years and decades, so why now?
Well, we became extremely profitable in the last 4 or 5 years. So everything kind of came together. Like I said, we lost money 23 of the first 25 years, so we didn't have anything to give away. But then we were always reinvesting, knew where we'd get to, and then boom, we got there. And so now that we do have the wealth, it's always been the plan to be generously and give it away. I grew up that way, on the farm, 13 ears and a corn, yeah, a dozen corn, and have a tomato. We hear some more, whatever. So it was always the plan, but I didn't have the resources. So now that the resources are here, it's really, why not? I mean, not taking it with me, we're fine. So, but we have, I don't, the kids will be fine, but they're not going to get a lot. They have to go out and do their own thing, and we do have a Sawyer Foundation that people can donate to. And the foundation is set up to every dollar that comes into the foundation does go overseas for water projects. Sawyer covers the overhead, which is minimal, but every single dollar, and Sawyer sends a lot of dollars over there. What I do have to show a profit, keep the banks happy,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
that's okay. Then I turn around and give those profits to the foundation.
yeah,
So, and they love what we're doing. They know that at any point in time, we could stop and make all the money we need to keep them happy. So,
yeah. Okay, so you have all this knowledge and you have this business model that works that I would say is somewhat counterintuitive to what culture will tell you how to profit and how to be a business owner. But you have a spiritual side to you. How how much does that play into the dynamic of your people, your team over the years, the culture? Like, have you baked in that faith into the company? Obviously, you have, but what challenges did you see doing that?
no, I think, well, first of all, we pay very, very well, both from the people that work on the production line to the office people. So, how do you not want to join a company that's changing the world like this? I mean, come on, 5 million people get lifetime water for the first time every year, and you don't want to be
Sure.
a part of that?
Yeah.
So we have a great loyalty. We bring the videos back, and we haven't. You better get your tear ducts ready to watch all our videos because
Yeah.
if you can't tear up on what some of the stories we get, you don't have a heart. So everybody's all in.
Yeah. And so, talk to me about some of the tactical pragmatics of the book, some of the concepts that are unique to you. So you talk about creative destruction, and I might get these out of order. I don't know. I just was jotting down ideas. So what do you give me some examples of that, and maybe just explain that concept?
Yeah, there's three really big ones. Creative destruction is one. That's Slumpeter back. He did it back in the 50s, and I don't think they teach it in school, but it's absolutely fantastic. Every time something happens, things are destroyed and things are created. So usually it's a government law. It could be a change in culture. Look at all the things that happened with the PC was invented or the phones were
Hmm.
invented. Could be a law like a disability law, or it could be culture change. I mean, look how fast the culture is changing now. We're
Hmm.
all on Instagram today and WhatsApp tomorrow. So
Hmm.
whenever that happens, things are destroyed and things are created. There's always opportunities in both.
Mhm.
So what your job is to think through what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years because of this change, either cultural, scientific, or government law. Unintended what people will call unintended consequences, you're supposed to figure it out before it becomes unintended.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter whether it's destroying something and creating new opportunities or whether the creation creates new opportunities, but there's always something there. Think 3 to 5 years ahead. What will happen if we all change the way we use phones, or look what Twitter did to the world, how it changed the way we communicate and all that kind of stuff. So that's creative destruction. Another big one is decision matrix. And that's where usually when you try to make a decision, you're hung up on 2 or 3 variables. You're just locked in and you can't get past those. Um, and I say, okay, we teach you, walk you right through how to do a matrix, but you better have at least 10 variables because
Mhm.
you're not thinking of them all. You're just locked into the most obvious ones. Or college, we try to get you 20 variables before you choose where your kids should go to college, that kind of a thing. And you'll be surprised at how much the minor ones, which then later would have you said, oh, that was an unintended consequence. No, no, no. We're going to think that ahead of time right now. We've helped people get married. We've helped people decide they weren't going to make it if they got married. I mean, we do business decisions. So we want to get you unlocked on those 2 or 3 things that are just rolling through your head to think about the other 10 or 15 things that'll come into play later. So we walk you through how to do that. Another one is math trap. I mean, that's the big one. CEOs and executives know how to do math trap. You don't need to know the numbers to the, 3 digits to the left of the decimal point. You just need to know there's certain underlying business things. Like if you're brand number 3, you have certain freedoms. You don't have to serve everybody. You can just go after the profitable niche. I mean, look how the way the Japanese auto manufacturers clobbered the big 3. They just won right after the profitable niche, while the other 3 felt like they had to serve everybody from the opening vehicle to the luxury vehicles.
Mhm.
And they just took the core out of the middle. And now, of course, now the big 3 are figuring that out and they're dropping sedans and 2-door sedans, and Ford only
Mhm.
makes SUVs and up now because they made the money on the trucks. So it's math trap. There's certain business principles that make sense, whether you're brand number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, and get there by doing the math without having to make the math exact. I mean, I kind of became a little bit famous in the life cycle curve because I was with Weed Eater and they wanted to keep growing and growing at the same rate. And I just said, you ran out of math. That curve's going to turn. You're going to grow, but not by what you think. And then you're going to go down. And so by hitting it correctly, they saved millions of dollars by not overproducing, and then the following year having to get rid of all the extra inventory. And they would have decimated, they would have lost 90% of their manufacturing facilities because they made the product the year before. So doing those math things, which we walk you through in the book, how to do it, can help you make decisions very, very quick. I mean, how did Jack Welch make decisions on a paper napkin? He had the math work through in his head quickly, boom, like that. So that we walk you through, teach you stuff like that. How to chase customers,
Yeah.
where's the growth? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like I
Well,
said, there's 25 analytics in here.
yeah. What's the trap? So when you talk about the math trap, because there's a lot of information there, and trying to, I guess, do a little mental gymnastics here and pick out some of the things you're saying so that we can maybe get in the weeds a little more. So, what is the trap that everybody falls for?
Overanalyzing it. So, for instance, if you're Procter and Gamble and you're selling Tide, it sure makes a difference whether you have 17.2 or 17.3% of the market. But if you're a young company, it doesn't make any difference. You just need to know whether you're number 1, 2, or 3 and how you go get more customers. It just doesn't matter whether you have 15% of the market or 20% of the market. You are where you are, and your decisions are going to be made by that. So don't spend all the money trying to do the analytics when it's not going to change your decision.
Mm.
So that you ask yourself, does it make any difference whether I have 20% of the market or 15? Am I going to do anything differently because of that? No, you're not in most
Mm,
cases, or whatever the number is. So on that scale, your decisions probably aren't going to change
hmm.
unless you're in the marketing department and you got to decide how to spend ads and you're trying to picking up a tenth of a huge market might make a difference, but still it doesn't matter difference to number five.
Yep.
So stuff like that,
Yeah.
understanding how important to know the how exact amount of math before you make a different decision. Very seldom does that math change the decision once you're in the ballpark.
Yeah. Well, and so if I can back up a little bit, I hope you're okay. You mentioned decision matrix, and we talked just briefly, but are sounds to me like you found value in creating a team that you trust for group sourced wisdom, and I guess think tank is for lack of a better term. And if you get people in a room, and I guess take us through maybe how do we maximize the value of group sourced wisdom and in a group a team environment, like how do you manipulate that, or how do you maneuver in that setting?
Well, there's another axiom of business that if everybody agrees, don't do it. There
Yep.
has to be reasons not to do it.
Right.
You got to find those reasons. So in the decision matrix, you're looking for what people blame on unintended consequences. No, they're not unintended. You just didn't think of them.
Hmm.
So you're always sitting there not taking the simple answer. Tell me all the reasons why we shouldn't do this. I want open discussion on why we shouldn't do this. So we're thinking it through in case that happens. What are all the things that could come at us down the road that we're not thinking of now? Let's think about them now. Let's be thinking 3, 5 years ahead.
Hmm.
The competitors aren't going to just sit there and take it. They're going to respond. What's their reaction going to be? So it's all about discovering what's going to happen that you haven't thought about initially.
Hmm.
So give
That's
me all
good.
the ideas you can. What's going to go wrong here?
That's good. And I don't however you feel about the term devil's advocate, I mean, there needs to be another side, right, of that coin that somebody plays out different scenarios and expecting the unexpected. Well, to you, it's not really unexpected because you guys
Right.
are getting out in front of that and creating those simulations and those scenarios, right?
Right. And you're having a plan for it. If this happens, we're going to do that. So the one thing about I was trained in strategic planning, always thinking 5 years ahead. But it's like the war thing. The war plan is obsolete the second the first bullet flies. So you're thinking
Yeah.
through what are all the little veins that are going to happen and how you're going to respond to them. So you're not having to think about it on the fly. You thought about it ahead of time. Same thing in business.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if they change the road? And all of a sudden, I got an overpass and my business is out of business. Did you bother going to look at the development plans for the city for the next 5 years to see what's going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
Or can I find a location that's going to be coming my way? Should I do
Mm-hmm.
something where the overpass is going to have an exit? I mean, all that stuff you just got to be looking 3 to 5 years ahead.
Yeah. Well, and I would ask you too then, what is the key? Because there are, regardless of how much planning and contingencies you come up with, there might be midstream pivots, right? You may need to make
Oh,
adjustments along the way. Most likely you will. What's the key during those moments of calling that audible at the line of scrimmage, I guess?
oh, my people are so used to it. Every year we pivot. We're going to pivot something. I've done 2 pivots in the last 12 months. I just call it pivot 1.0, pivot 0.2 for this 12 months. Major pivots, opportunities show up, things happen, laws change, war breaks out. I mean, most of the people in Ukraine are drinking out of our filters. I mean, we have
Hmm.
one charity doing 9 billion gallons of water a year. The soldiers all carry it. Well, until the Ukraine war out, would you have planned for that? Of course not. So you're always pivoting. The market, I mean, look at how much the retail industry has changed. Just remember what life was like before Amazon? It's all changed. And even Amazon changed. We were the first one that they saw it was coming where Amazon was going to change from 70% of their sales being on a monitor to
Hmm.
70% of their sales being on a portable device, phone or tablet.
Yeah.
the first company in our section of the woods to change our whole homepage to be phone and tablet friendly. We changed, we pivoted when the Gen Zs came in. Our messages are all different from what we were saying to the millennials because they think differently. We're now making the changes because the alphas are coming up. They're now 15, 16 years old. We are changing the way we communicate with them and where we communicate with them. You better be pivoting
Yeah.
constant.
On the fly, right? So what is key
Well,
to
not
getting
not
people's
totally on the fly.
buy-in on
Yeah,
that?
not totally on the fly because you better build in the flexibility of the organization to be able to change on the fly.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So that's what I think I want to know for guys that own their business and maybe they're trying to scale and maybe they haven't thought of every contingency, but what are you looking for in a team that allows for a seamless pivot midstream?
Well, I'll give you one example we did. We fill a lot of bottles every year,
Mm,
millions of them. I could build my production line, our production lines to have automatic bottle feeders and automatic cappers and automatic things. I said no, because they take 8 hours to make a change. I want to make a
mm,
change from a 4 to 3 ounce bottle or this product to another brand in 15 minutes. So I spend the extra penny or two for the flexibility. So now how do you do that? Do you do that in your restaurant? Are you driving for the lowest cost or are you willing to take a little higher cost to have flexibility so you can move on the fly?
yeah. No, that's good. I I just feel like there's so many guys out there that don't account for things, that don't think of things that could happen because they're so, I guess, blinders on to let's just come up with a great product, let's identify our customer base and let's make a bunch of it and then go 1,000% into marketing it, right? And so I don't know that they think of all the things you're thinking of with the tributaries that come off of that plan that should come off of that plan because there's so many different scenarios. In fact, I did you have anything happen? Like, let's talk about the mini. I think that's what you held up, right? Was the mini a minute ago?
Well, it was the tap filter, but the new one,
Okay,
but it looks like a mini. Yeah.
so the mini was a game changer, right? So did you give me an example, being product specific, maybe of how did anything come up that you didn't foresee? Was there any sort of, I don't know, cost variables, any sort of variables in general that that maybe you could take us through?
Well, we actually and this lesson is in the book. Have the old economies of scale model
Yeah.
where every time you
Yep.
double production, you lower your cost by 20%. So when we first got in, we knew where our cost would be once we got into high volume, not where it is now. And so we priced to where we were going to be in 2 years, not where our costs were today. And so obviously that example I gave you earlier, the retailers were incredibly resistant. I mean, why should I give up $40 selling a ceramic filter to make $10 on your thing? Well, because you're going to sell 1,000 times more of these.
Mhm.
So, and we said, you're not going to stop us. This is a revolutionary technology and you can't stop us. So you might as well jump on board. But we
Mhm.
had to deal with that. We had to convince them that this was going to be, and there's a thing in the book, you spend dollars, not percents. So the margin doesn't matter. It's how many dollars at the end of the day you're going to have to spend. So don't get hung up with, there's a whole chapter on how to price. So you're chasing dollars, you're not chasing margins. And then the difference between the numerator and the denominator, the profits are made in the denominator, not in the numerator. So you're watching your investments more than you are your margins. That's how you
Mhm.
make the profits. So it's kind of tricky, and people don't think that way. They keep thinking, how much can I make on this? No,
Yep.
how much did you have to invest to have this product? And how can I minimize my investment? Can I open up two restaurants for the same price of one if I manage it correctly? Even if I don't make as much money per restaurant, I'm going to have more dollars at the end of the day because I didn't have the investment. My ROI is going to go up. So we do that with every
Yeah.
retailer. How do we maximize the retailer's profit? And that's by managing their denominator.
Okay.
Now, we give up a lot of margin. We pay for extra boxes, whatever, so they can get their turns and reduce their investment.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And it sounds like you took into consideration not just products. I think the book also talks about how service should almost trump the product. Now, you've got to have the right product for the right people at the right time, but is there do you weight one above the other? And if you do, talk about service a little bit.
No, you're always chasing a solution to a problem.
Hmm.
And you read some of the tech stuff, people didn't even know they had a problem. The solution, go back to Steve Jobs. I mean, he created solutions to problems people didn't even know they had.
Yeah.
You're always chasing a solution to a problem, whether the people know it's a problem or whether when you have your product, say, oh yeah, I want to do that because it's going to save me time. So always chase solutions.
Yeah.
Solution to problems either perceived or known.
Well, and so how does that fold in once you've created a solution, even if it's a problem they didn't know they had? Talk about longevity because service, I would think, has to play into staying stable, staying relevant, staying present for a long period of time. What have you
Yeah.
done differently as a service company?
Well, we've actually made ourselves obsolete because our products don't need to be replaced. So that kind of creates a
Shame
little.
on you, right?
Yeah, but that's okay. I can't do it any other way. I mean, I can't sell you a piece of junk. I got to sell you the best. I mean, we won't do anything different like that. And when you go into Africa or Latin America and you give them a filter, you can't say, okay, 90% are going to be okay. The other 10 are going to stay sick. You can't do that. You got to do 100%. So that's why we have the filter that does 100%. Um, no, I think if you've solved the problem, you've solved the problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Is there a
that,
partnership factor though with customers? How do you, I guess maybe that's a better way to phrase it instead of service, but in terms of, service fixing something that's broken, but maybe
yeah.
service from the standpoint of a partnership with your customers.
Well, we do have that now. I mean, the name Sawyer is gold for a lot of people, and we did not let the world know what we were doing around the world till just really 2 years ago.
Hmm.
I mean, so we've been solving the world's water problem with community at a time since 2005. And Haiti was whatever it was 2010. I mean, nobody knew we did this.
Was
We
that intentional or just an
Yeah, it was
oversight?
intentional.
Okay.
I don't want to take God's glory.
Hmm.
So you have to learn how to let people think you're hot stuff, but really say, no, you're not. It's a God thing. And so my people, the marketing people were saying, come on, we got to do it. It's an asset. And then everybody starts doing the, buy one, get one, buy one, get that.
Sure.
But okay, it's probably time to let people know what we're really doing. And it's taken off like wildfire. I mean, we already had a loyal Sawyer base. I don't know, 30, 40, 50 million people buy things from Sawyer. We not necessarily every year, but they do buy them and they've got that brand. So they've known Sawyer, but they never knew what we were doing. Well, now that we're at this next level and we're letting them know what we're doing and trying to do it humbly, that loyalty has just gone off the charts. So
I mean,
they
sometimes,
just have
and
to
maybe
not
you
give it
can
to me.
say that again. What'd you say?
They just have to not give it to me. It's not me.
Right. Sometimes I wonder too, because you're quick to give God the glory, which as you should be. But sometimes I wonder if God is kind of like, step out there and show people what we're doing together. Don't be, I don't know if it's even considered falsely humble or what it's called, but yeah, you should be letting people know, look how big this is. And it's not because of we're great and we flipped the switch, but we're faithful and God showed up and look what happened.
Yeah, but here's the irony of it. God could flip a switch and nobody be ever sick again. Okay,
Sure.
He's in control of all the biology.
Yep.
So why do we have this problem? I mean, there's got to be something in his cosmic plan. So we've kind of settled on it's the way to share a gospel.
Yep.
Because if you want to share the gospel, you got to do one of three things: solve food, medicine, or water. Those are the three entrees. Now, we actually touch all three of them because we obviously solve the water problem, which solves the medical problems, and the kids lose a third of their nutrients to the parasites and all that, which we stop. I mean,
Wow, okay.
we have stories of where kids are growing again. They're not jaundiced.
Wow.
They got the parasites out of the system.
Wow.
So you've got all that mechanism, and this is it. So it's not just me. I got a lot of good people working with us.
Hmm.
So a lot of good charities. It's not just us. But we liken it to our job is to bring the loaves and the fishes.
Yep.
It's up to God to make the
Multiply.
miracle happen.
Yeah. That's good. And you're solving the medical through some of the repellents too. I mean, right?
Yeah. Well, we just finished a study to show that in certain areas of Africa, they lose so many kids get malaria. I mean,
Hmm.
like 70, 80%. But if
Hmm.
mother wraps them in this permethrin treated shawl at night, it drops down from 80% to 20%. So, I mean, there you go. Just did it. I mean, that's like 6 months ago. We just finished that study. So we're still out there doing those kind of things.
And that product is to market the shawl?
No, you just take any shawl and you
Oh, and
just
just spray it down, treat it.
spray it down
Okay.
with our thing. We're now bringing the world to picaridin instead of DEET. DEET works, but it has a lot of issues. It's going to melt your watch and all that kind of stuff. Whereas picaridin came from the pepper plant and it doesn't do that. So it's much milder to use. So DEET is a huge market because it has always worked, but the new technology is now the picaridin, which we're the number one picaridin supplier in the US, because that's moving us into better topical repellents. So we're kind of always at the forefront there. But
That's
I,
good.
I'll give you a little story that
Hmm.
tear to your eye. A guy goes over to a village in Uganda with about 250 families. He gets over there for a week. And he asks, well, why don't you name your kids till they're 3 years old? He says, well, because if they make it to three, we're sure they're going to live. So we're not going to name them until we know they're going to live. And they're losing, typically you lose a third of their kids. So he goes back there with the filters, installs 250 filters in the village, goes back the next year. All the kids again are named at birth because they've never lost a child since the filters show up. I mean, now how does that not?
That's a mic drop moment.
Yeah. And we have so many of those.
That's so good, man. Well, I mean, I'd be crazy to not ask this. How did you come up with the name Sawyer? Unless there's something about your name that I don't know.
No, well, first of all, I'd never name it after myself because
Of
whether
course
we're a
you wouldn't.
failure or success, you do not want the kids to have to live that up,
There you go.
that down. The original name of the company was Safida. Remember, we started with the snake bite kit. And where in the Bible do you see the snake bite kit? But Paul on the island of Malta, when the
Hmm.
viper bites him and then he shakes
Yep.
it off, and they said, "You must be a god." And he says, "No, but I'll show you the God." Couldn't find anything else. So it's Acts 28, 4, 5, and 6 backwards. Saffeta. So that's the letters. But the problem is it was 1984 and everything was buy America, buy America, buy America. And that didn't sound very American. So we went to the shows with Safda. Everybody liked the product, but the name wasn't going to drive it. So I went back to the studio and said, what's the most all-American name you can come up with? And it was Tom Sawyer for camping. So it's named after Tom Sawyer. And we have the logo with him hiking through the woods with a backpack in the beginning. So
Oh, okay. Well,
Tom
that's
Sawyer.
awesome. I mean, you're not going to get in the raft business, are you? Or the cane pole business, I wouldn't think.
There actually are already Sawyers in there. So, but no.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, I was going to ask you too, what is your daily kind of role in the day to day? Are you still very active in the everyday business?
I'm the visionary. I really have good people. We call it exit the market, mentally or physically, Sawyer will go on. We have the foundation running. I already have it in my will that I have to be mentally tested in a couple more years, every year to make sure I'm capable of not screwing this place up. And then the Sawyer would go to the foundation. The foundation would own it, kind of like the Hershey Foundation owns Hershey chocolate. So This is too good of a gig to just let it disappear. I'm not going to sell. I'll never sell it. What do I care? I don't need the money
Yeah.
anyway. No, I have such good people. I mean, so my, I'm teaching grasshopper.
Yeah.
Every other Wednesday, we go through a lesson in grasshopper, in real life as we apply it to Sawyer, pick a chapter. How does that apply to Sawyer? What do we need to know? And plus our daily stuff. So that's what I
Yep.
do, passing this on. This is the operating manual for Sawyer. So when I'm gone, they just keep reading this thing.
And then I would assume companies are taking some of that and implementing it in, beyond that, just that industry, and in a lot of different companies, they could teach that anywhere, right? I mean, it translates, I would assume.
Ironically, some of the people that have left for whatever reasons,
Yeah.
they they go to other companies and they start doing this stuff, and the guys go, "Where did you learn all that stuff?" So yeah, it's quite
It's
natural. But I
permeating
don't.
through the business world. Yeah.
Well, I don't lose people. Yeah, why
Yeah.
would you leave Sawyer? I mean, I'm going to pay you nicely, and our margins are good, and everybody's well paid. I mean, our workers make really a lot of money for the state of Florida for what they do, and we feed them lunch twice a week, and we give them
Mm.
gas money, and we give them bonuses. And in the state of Florida, you take a bottle and you put it on the line, you do it again and again, and that's it, and you're making 50,000 a year in Florida. So no, nobody leaves Sawyer.
Yeah, that's good, man. Well, you talk about looking 5 years ahead most times. What do you see as we kind of round this conversation out? And I'm going to give you a chance at the end to maybe just kind of give us a little couple nuggets around just general business for entrepreneurs. But before we do that, I want to know, where do you see the space, the water space that you're in? Where do you see it? How do you see it changing? What do you see if you're looking into this 3 to 5 years? And then maybe in our country, I'm going to ask you just a general prognostication of what you think it looks like.
Well, for Sawyer, we're okay in the domestic market. I mean, even though filters are kind of falling out of, I mean, because we're saturated, we don't have an end to life. But the repellent business is coming. Picaridin will eventually seriously dent the deep market, and we're the king of the American.
Mm,
This is the future right here. I mean, um, we're working with OAS. We'll be working with USAID. Yes, they have a lot of money. They're just not going to waste it on some of the crazy projects, but they're willing to invest in good projects. So, there's no reason that there aren't 50 million of these out there. I mean, at 10 cents for 10 years of water, how does that not change every way people are drinking water? I mean, you are not sick. We just take 2 weeks and sickness is gone. We can change whole countries like that. We have two other delivery systems, but that's a big one.
mm.
You can just take this filter and screw it on a bottle and
Yep.
drink. Good. Don't need anything else. We did that for Helene. We sent 100,000 filters up to Helene
Mm.
because you could drink the water you're standing in and not wait for the bottled water. I mean, we had the hikers take it out where vehicles couldn't go. We had planes flying them in. We were there on day 2 or 3. So it's got its place, but doing it on mass scales is bigger. So we're chasing a foundation that might want to drop 20-30 million dollars. And just think of that, $20 million might give 200 million people clean water. I mean, it's just at that level now. And so that's really where it's going to go. And will we be the only ones? I don't know. There's nobody in our space now capable of doing what we're doing. But if it got to be that level, there's the GEs and the Siemens out there that could do that. But nobody in this space now is even mentally capable or physically capable of doing what we do. And I mean, they sell 10, 50,000 a year. We do millions. I mean, they're just not going to catch us. And they refuse to do what we do. I mean, we literally test every filter 3 times because you can't have any failures. They don't. We know there are failures along the way. They'll pass them on. We won't. So
Wow.
that's where we're heading. We're heading into the international. We're working the politics, meeting with the senators and whatnot, and saying, okay, we'll flip a country in a year. Give us a country, and within a year, we can make everybody not sick and have 15% more income. So, and the babies live and all that kind of stuff. So that's where we're headed.
I mean, that's a way to have a green light in a country that wouldn't ordinarily allow this kind of thing in there is when you can change I mean, just their family trees, right? You can change their lifespan in almost a blink of an eye. So, man, you guys are doing good work. I feel like maybe I didn't turn one stone over. So anything you wish we would have talked about, or maybe something you have for entrepreneurs that we didn't cover, give us maybe a couple minutes here of just letting you kind of freestyle.
Well, my whole mantra in life is let your God be big.
Hmm.
Too many of us, I have a phrase that, God created man on the sixth day, and we've been trying to repay him ever since by
Hmm.
creating God. If you let God be big, and he is big, come on, look at the universe, look at the
Hmm.
microbiology, look at the macrobiology, look at the stuff. He's big. And if you let him be as big as he is, he will use you to do big things. He'll put cattle on your hill to do big things. But if you want to keep God in a box and make yourself bigger than God, you're going to do small things. He'll still use you, okay? Because he's got a plan for everybody. But if you want to go out and change the world and do big things, he's your partner. So let him be as big as he is.
Okay, I love that. So for a guy that's new into owning his own business, what is that tangibly and from a tactical standpoint? What does that look like to letting God be big?
Well, as big as he also has given you skill sets. He's given you opportunities. Now, we're commissioned to go to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the world. Well, we try to do all four of them, but obviously we're doing an awful lot in the uttermost parts of the world. But maybe you're got to focus on Jerusalem, or maybe which is your city. Maybe you focus on Judea, which is your county.
Mm,
Maybe God wants you to change your city. Maybe God wants you to change your county by doing something big. It you can do it. I don't care what your business is, you can do it. Now, can you do it with your products and therefore, or your service, and therefore avoid a lot of taxes? Maybe. Or think about how you could. In our particular case, the world needs this. We just happen to make
mm,
it. So if we made cupcakes, we couldn't nearly do what we're doing, but we can with this. Um, but so can you. Anybody can. Just pick your territory where you can
mm,
work. And God has given everybody spiritual gifts and business gifts. Nobody's
mm,
void of that. He
mm.
didn't create you just to be a laggard and ride his coattails. He's got
Mm.
you ready and able to do something for
That's
the
good.
kingdom.
That's good. No, that's gold. That's helpful. That's something somebody needed to hear, including myself. I didn't ask you what part of Florida are you in?
A little town called Safety Harbor. It's by Clearwater, St. Pete. We're kind of between the bay and the Gulf.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on here and agreeing to do this and make the investment into our listeners. And the investment was well worth our time, and we're honored to have you and know you now. Thank you for all you guys do. Thank you for hiring good people. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for putting God first and standing on His shoulders to accomplish what you've done. And man, we look forward to seeing how you're going to change the world even more. I mean, you're already making a huge
They
splash, but
have to have us back next year. Who knows? But
we're going to do that. If you'll
yeah,
come back, we'll have you back.
no, I always come back. I'm not unapproachable. It's very humbling, but it's such an honor.
Yeah.
Uh, it is pressure though, because you keep thinking, okay, this is a big thing, God. What should I be doing? Am I not doing something I should be doing? I mean, because we're going to move from in the world we're in now, they know we're sharing a lot of gospel. But when you go to mass distribution, you become a Chick-fil-A. I mean,
Yeah.
you serve everybody. But yet, that's the model because they know Chick-fil-A is a Christian company, even though they serve everybody. Well, we're moving into that next layer where we'll have somebody just literally, I mean, I think 5 years from now, we're like a cell phone. Everybody knows how to use it.
Sure.
So we have QR codes now. You can hit you with your
Yeah.
phone and you can learn how to do it. There's videos and there's WhatsApp to keep following up with you. It's so big that we got to retain that they know it's a Christian company doing it. I
That's
mean,
right.
we work with the Red Crescent. We work in all kinds of. I mean, I did a AR 57 exchange with the warlords in northern Sudan. We give you filters, you give us rifles, because they wanted the filters back. I mean,
Wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's crazy.
yeah,
I mean, you're doing a lot. I don't know how much more you could do. I mean, you're changing the world, and man, I look forward to seeing kind of what happens in just 12 months, because it seems like things that used to happen in 5 years are now happening in a year, or a year and a
yeah.
half. So, man, who knows
It's
where this is
about to
going to be?
bust loose. Yeah, we're very
That's
close to
right.
busting loose. So,
Well, I'll congratulate you ahead of time, even though I know you don't want the congratulations, but
yeah, it's a God thing. So,
good for you for being obedient and watching this thing multiply. So, anyway, with that, audience, he has been the one and only Kurt Avery. We've been last in line. Be blessed.